So Sanal has been teaching me about Vedic astrology, and one of the important things that we have to remember is apparently, which I didn't realise, that as opposed to Western cultures where we look at each day of the week starting at midnight, that's not what's true in Vedic astrology. It actually starts from sunrise. So I was lucky, I was born at 7:30 in the morning, which still qualifies me as a Friday's child, as we would call it in Western tradition. However, if I'd been born at say 2:00 in the morning, I would still be considered as coming under the Thursday planet, which is Jupiter. Thank you. When the moon's out, we react differently when it's full moon, new moon and all the rest of it. We tend to blame the moon, you know, when everybody goes a bit loopy, oh, it's the full moon's fault. You know, in some kind of peculiar way, we're actually listening to the energy that is coming to us from that cosmos. So the key oil that Sonal has used here is chamomile, both of them actually, the Roman and the German chamomile. There are two kinds. Now, this is really interesting because, but either one of them really, but much more so the Roman, deals with the now, the right here and right now of everything. It brings everything that's going on around you and making sense of it now. How something from your past or something that you can see coming towards you from the future makes sense now, and marrying it all together. So, and they're very grounding. So if we're talking again about these energies like the moon coming in from this part, which are our spiritual being, it allows that energy to come in, and the chamomile helps to anchor it and bring it right down so it goes through the rest of our physical system. And it's interesting that within all of this, to ground all this moon energy, there's actually quite a number of herbal oils here that have been used. We've got the sage, we've got the camphor, we have the, it's not quite a herb, but I'm going to throw the lime and the lemon into this part as well, and we've got the thyme. Now the sage, and in this particular blend, I want to look at sage literally from its aspect of the all-knowing, if you like, the wise old sage, as it were. And this is where I'm coming from with this oil in this particular instance. It's like, you know, the looking up at the moon and knowing that the answers are out there somewhere. And when we do look at the moon, more so than the sun, because it's not a good idea to look straight into the sun anyway, but when we look at the moon, we start seeing all the stars around it, and that's when we start drifting off literally out there into outer space and start thinking, wow, you know, are there any other life beings out there? What else is out there that we're not aware of yet? What can we bring back here from all of that? So it's very much that knowledge, that sage. When we do sit out there under the moon and the stars, we allow our subconscious mind to open up, and we start getting all these wonderful and amazing thoughts and start questioning the world around us and even the world out there. So again, it's a cleanser. So it clears away any other sort of logical thoughts that might come in. So it'll bring all of that in, it'll bring that knowledge in, but it cleanses away all the peripheral stuff that really have no bearing on what's going on right now. Then we'll move on to the Frangipani. Now, this one's fascinating that it's been thrown in, because obviously we regard the moon as being female. Now, the Frangipani to me is almost that divine feminine again. It's just that beautiful, flowery perfume smell. It's absolutely, I'm not going to use the word divine, it is absolutely a gorgeous smell. So this is the key linking of the Frangipani into this blend, because we're talking about the moon having very feminine energies, as opposed to when I explained about the Sunday oil and the keynote there being the jasmine being a very male scented oil. So this is the key within the moon oil, the Monday oil. This is the feminine, the key that gels all the rest of them together. In it we also have Melissa. Now Melissa helps us to set our boundaries. Now some people have very fixed boundaries, very close to them, and they're very, very inflexible. Some other people have absolutely no boundaries whatsoever, and they're like the runaway train, and you just don't know what you're going to get from one day to the next with them. So with the use of the Melissa, because the moon can do this, can't it? This is where the word lunatic comes from. You know, these people who haven't got the boundaries, they're running around like mad hares, you know, and headless chickens and doing crazy, crazy things. They really need that Melissa, you know, when that full moon starts affecting them, that Melissa to bring it all back in so that their boundaries are actually a little bit more flexible. And the same thing for those who are very rigid and not prepared to actually look up at the moon and question the world that we live in and question the universe out there and to listen to those energies that are coming in. So the Melissa will fluctuate. Those people who are very rigid and saying, no, it's got to be proven in science and it has to have a formula behind it and what have you. The Melissa will actually say, no, come on, you know, think outside the box a little bit. Just open up just that little bit. So the Melissa is there to fluctuate those boundaries that we all have. Again, we've got this lime coming in, which is grounding, and we've got the lemon, which is like a blast. It's the air element, so it clarifies everything. Again, getting rid of all those extra bits of cobwebs and fluff and dust that we don't need to deal with, but we sometimes get bogged down with them. It clears it all away so we can see everything very, very clearly. Again, we've got the thyme. So this is again another great cleanser. And again, it works beautifully with sage. So they're both going hand in hand here in bringing in the wisdom and actually clearing away anything that's just sort of attached to us that really, they're not serving any purpose anymore. Get rid, get shot, go away. Don't need them. And then finally, we've got petitgram. Now, petitgram's interesting because there's one plant that gives us 3 essential oils, and that's the orange blossom tree. So we get neroli from the blossoms, we get the sweet orange from the fruit, and then we get the petitgram, which is normally made up of things like the leaves and the twigs and maybe a little bit of periphery fruit that's left over there or what have you, or some blossoms. Now, petitgram is really good for dealing with addictions. Now, addictions doesn't have that, not necessarily the negative connotation about the addictions, you know, like drugs and alcohol and all that kind of thing. We can also have very healthy addictions. And I'm going to sort of gel that word a little bit more and turn it more into a passion, so that we actually get more passionate about certain things. So when these wonderful ideas come to us, when we're truly listening to that universe out there for those little signals and what have you, we will actually have that passion and actually, no, I'm going to follow that little thread. I'm going to take this to its end's limit until I get to the end of it and find out what the answer really is. So this is where that word addiction comes back into play. We will become addicted in the nicest possible way to finding out the answers to the universe when we look up at that moon, and we just keep going with it. We will just keep on going it. So this is the personality of the people born on Mondays. They might seem as though they're away with the fairies, but actually they're not. They're very, very grounded, and they keep bringing that information in. They keep bringing in new ideas and new thoughts for us. It's almost like I would say they're probably the scientists of the world who are a bit more like Einstein, if you like, who think outside the box, have these wonderful thoughts, these eureka moments, and can actually bring it back here to make sense for the rest of us. That's my interpretation of the oils that have been put together for Monday and what I would perceive as a Monday personality.